Good morning.
Good afternoon.
Good evening, wherever you are on this amazing planet. I'm Ariel.
I'm Shia, and in this amazing moment of now, it is capable or possible to have a blog out into the universe via the internet, which didn't exist 25 years ago.
When you say blog, are you talking about podcast?
Podcast, that's right.
Podcast, blog, vlog, connecting, Zoom. We have guests who are Zooming in with us today. And today's theme on being here is...
What if you aren't broken?
What?
How is that possible?
I don't know.
I don't either.
Well, most of us are raised in an environment where broken is a way of life.
And broken is normal.
But in 1987, Shia had a direct experience of the perfection of the moment, which included him. And if the moment's perfect, you're perfect, then anything you're experiencing isn't part of being broken. It's part of the perfection of you.
Now, we all have been raised in cultures. You know, human beings take a long time to grow up, relatively speaking. If you were a mayfly, well, you'd be born and fly for a day and your life would be over. Most of that time is spent under the water in a river growing up to become flies. But human beings, you're born as a baby, and then it takes 2 or 3 or 4 years before you can, not even, it takes 10, 12, 14. They call 21 as when you're legal. That's when you've grown up, supposedly. But all you 21-year-olds know that you're still a kid yet until you're maybe 40. And some 80 years old are still children. But you've been taught a language. You've been taught everything about yourself, either directly or in resistance to being told what to do by your world. And so, what if you aren't broken? What if being broken is part of the culture we grow up in, where we think that we need to be better than we are rather than be okay the way we are? As if you could be different than the way you are.
Let's listen to each other today. I'm listening to Shia.
I hope I'm not too confusing.
You're not to me anyway.
Oh, good.
Because I'm listening. I don't have to understand. I have to listen. I don't have to do anything. But as I listen, everything in me relaxes. I don't have to produce anything. I don't have to be different than I am. Any technical difficulties that might have happened as we are preparing to record just drift away. And this moment is all there is, and it's quite exquisite.
Yes.
How about we just jump in and take our first guest?
Okay. Well, we should talk about listening.
Yes?
Yeah. Listening is allowing what's being said to come into you without seeing whether you agree or disagree with it or already know it. And in other words, it's about hearing what somebody says without commenting on it in your thoughts as though you know better than they do about their experience. How's that?
That was good.
Okay.
I liked it.
That's our definition of listening. So, and at first, of course, you won't be able to not comment because that's what you've been doing your whole life. But eventually you start to get this a control over that internal conversation that dictates how you're supposed to be, the internal governor, if you will. And that's when you start to discover yourself as an enlightened being, when you're no longer determined by that voice and its hold over your self-expression. That's about all I have to say about that.
I like it.
So we can meet our first guest.
All right. Jess, welcome to being here.
Thank you for having me.
Where are you zooming in from today?
Napanee, Indiana.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Now we know at least two great people in Napanee.
From Napanee, right? Yes.
Yep.
Well, welcome to the show. It's so nice to have you. We know that you've come to a number of the Living Made Easy, either Saturday or Monday nights. You're relatively new to us and our technology. So I'm wondering if you have any questions for us.
I don't really have a question, I guess. It's more of, like you guys have said, we grow up thinking like a lot of the things that we do or think are wrong.
Yes.
Like how I have some severe anxiety when it comes to a lot of stuff. Like, to me, that's wrong to have. And you want to fix that. Yeah.
Hey, just let me ask you a question about that, because that interests me. So in the family you grew up in, was there anxiety?
Yeah. Yeah.
In the family you grew up in, I should have asked this backwards, but did they speak English?
Yeah.
That's why you speak English.
Yeah.
And now the question about the anxiety, was there anxiety? And you said already yes. So maybe that's the proper response you learned growing up in the culture you grew up in to new situations or uncertainty.
And let's take a step back from the family you grew up in to the family your parents and grandparents grew up in. I have to assume that everybody was doing their very best, not only to survive, but to provide for their children and teach their children to the best of their abilities.
Mm-hmm.
Would that be a fair assessment?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can either, in change, you've got right and wrong, good and bad, better and worse. So we'll identify things in a problem solution framework in a change modality. And that's what most of us have been taught. So let's start there. In change, you're going to identify your anxiety as a bad thing, a wrong thing, a lesser thing, and a better you would get rid of that. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay, great. And that's perfect. That's what we've been taught. And what you've been training yourself in is a second language. So in addition to English, and in addition to your familial language, which includes meeting situations that are new or unsettling with anxiety, there's the language of transformation, and you're getting better at it. And in transformation, it's meeting what is, as opposed to holding it as good or bad or right or wrong, and not in a problem solution framework. And those three principles of instantaneous transformation are so supportive for me, and I imagine they are for you in the moments that you recall them.
Yeah.
The first one is anything you resist, you get stuck with. So if you resist anxiety, you get stuck at anxiety.
And a form of resisting it is judging it, thinking it's wrong, looking
And you should be over it by now.
Go, wow, I don't see this person with anxiety or that person, therefore I am
broken.
Yes. Yep.
That's awesome. Really. By the way, we all started there.
That's right. So there is really more than hope. It's not there's hope for us. The reality is that when you start seeing life directly rather through the filters you've learned to see life through, things get much, much easier and much less anxious causing.
Second principle, in any given moment, you can only be exactly as you are. So let's say here today, there's a level of anxiousness, not knowing what you're going to say, what we're going to say, how you're going to sound, like all of those things. Is that possible?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Well, first of all, not only is it perfect, in my experience, it's a gift. because you're not the only person in this world who experiences that. And third principle.
Anything you see, and don't judge, but just notice the way it is, completes itself in an instant. It doesn't take time. So just seeing your anxiety, if you don't resist it, is enough for it to dissolve. However, you can't see it to dissolve it, because then you're trying to manipulate things. And that's the first principle all over again. It's a form of resisting what is.
I'm going to talk about me, my favorite subject, and not quite about what you're experiencing, anxiety, but something else. In one of our earlier books, we wrote a chapter, I believe it was Being Here, a cluttered desk is a sign of genius. And one of the things that happened is I discovered that I would keep a level of clutter in my office. And it's what I grew up around. My mother was voted businesswoman of the West Coast one year. She was really, really good. And she had piles on her desk. And if you'd go in there, she'd go, don't touch anything. I know where everything is. In my mind and my expectation, that was part of what a successful businesswoman looked like. And when I was 13, I found at a Hallmark store a marble plaque that had inscribed on it in cursive, a cluttered desk is a sign of genius. And I gave it to my mom as a gift. And then one year I saw it and I'm like, Mom, that's really cool. She said, you gave that to me when you were a kid. And then I recalled it and she said, why don't you take it home with you? And then I had it on my desk. And I was wondering why my desk was always so cluttered. And finally, Shia said to me, maybe you should get rid of that plaque. And the idea of letting go of it was horrific. And then I thought, well, I could put it in recycle. I could, send it to a consignment store. Someone could. And I thought, why do I want to visit that idea on somebody else? And I realized that part of my attachment to this concept and the plaque itself was I felt connected with my mom. It was part of love. And I had to discover for me that it was no less loving to let go of something that probably didn't work for her and certainly wasn't working for me. So one of the challenges that you may face in instantaneous transformation is our attachment to being like our family and thinking that if that dissolves, somehow we get farther away.
Or that somehow it's disrespectful. I love Zoom, and I'm really enjoying meeting you today because you've shown up, and on the Monday or Saturdays, Tuesdays, if you don't say anything, we don't say anything to you, really. We don't try to confront anybody, but you're here and your aliveness is showing up and it's really lovely.
I don't know. It's always hard for me to talk to people to begin with. So just being here is a big step for me. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, well, I know people who are listening to this can't see your face, but you are glowing. That you took that step. I admire that. We admire that.
Well, I love the courage it takes that people have to look at their lives, not like there's something wrong with them, but just to notice how it is they go about life. And that's the interesting thing about transformation. It's not based in trying to fix or change anything. It's just getting curious or interested in how your life is wired. And then in seeing it, those things that are not really supportive fall away on their own because they're not necessary.
Yeah.
Now, I have a question. How old is your daughter?
I have two. One's 11 and one's 7. You guys are always seeing the 7-year-old.
Okay. And have you read either one of them, the book A Wrinkle in Time?
No, they've seen the movie, but not the book.
Okay, the movie is different than the book. I recall the
all-
book from as a child. And
It
one of
always
the
is different.
yeah, one of the things I loved in The Wrinkle in Time is they had a graphic or a little sketch in there about with somebody holding two ends of a string and an ant traversing the string from one side to the other, and it takes a distance. And they were talking in A Wrinkle in Time, like what happens if you just put the ends together, then you're already there. And I feel like we've all been trained in change, that we have to, be like the ant and walk along this straight line. And hopefully you make progress. With instantaneous transformation, you're already here.
See, there's no place to get to because you're already here. And look, second principle of instantaneous transformation says you can only be exactly as you are in the current moment. So right now, you can only be the way you are. Now, how could that be wrong?
I guess it can't be.
I mean, really? I mean, take a look. Boom. You're the way you are, and that's perfect. And in this moment, you're the way you are, and that's perfect. Well, now, our approach is not psychotherapeutic,
Mhm.
We don't, and that's the other thing. When you get into the current moment, I get goosebumps when I think about it just now. When you get into the current moment, there's nothing wrong. There's only this moment. And you haven't done it wrong. In fact, I would say you've done your life absolutely perfectly. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here on this podcast
Yes.
with us. It would be impossible. So, wow, congratulations on doing all the right things to find this moment that we could be together.
If you hadn't have been anxious back then, you wouldn't be here now.
Yeah.
See, the moment is inclusive. Transformation is inclusive. You're not here in spite of anything. Everything brings you to this moment, the perfection of this moment.
I have a question for you, my dear.
Okay.
In this moment, how anxious are you?
About a 5.
Not a 5?
Yeah.
I think
Is it anxious or is it excitement?
It may be a mixture of both.
the moment before you looked to see the level of anxiousness, my experience of you was the anxious was virtually gone. When you put your attention back on how you were doing in an instant, you saw, oh, now it was only a 5. But whilst you were listening to Shia just then, I was watching your face.
That's why I asked you
And
the question.
there wasn't anxious there. Even when he said, I have a question for you, my dear, you like smiled. He called you my dear. It was all very sweet. There was no anxious in that moment.
Like this moment. See, if you label yourself as anxious, then you look for that anxiety all the time. You include that. And there are moments it's just not there. But it goes along with the story that you're broken if you have anxiety. And if you discover that you're not anxious all the time, that means you're not broken all the time.
There's a difference between being something and labeling yourself as something. So for instance, you're going to take a label that you wouldn't consider a bad one, because anxious is one that you put in the category of not preferred. You're a mother. There are times when you're a mother, and that's different than the label the mother. Because as we were talking to you before, I said, how old are your daughters? Your daughters didn't exist during this conversation, which doesn't make you any less of a mother. But you weren't talking to us through the label, I'm a mother. So when Shai is talking about if you label yourself as something like smart or stupid or a really good listener or I'm bad at listening, you won't actually be here. You'll be going through the label And then it makes your life a bit more challenging. But of course, it's normal. Most people do that.
See, the thing is this, Jess, your hanging out with us is dangerous. Because you might discover that you're like Wonder Woman, that you're great and there's nothing wrong.
And that you just aren't broken.
Yeah, that's right.
And I know that I've seen you in a multi-window environment, because when we do the Zoom videos, we see lots of people and lots of different windows. And then as you get a lot of them, the windows get smaller.
Mm-hmm.
But I have never seen you as gorgeous as you are today.
Sorry about that, because people don't like to hear that they're beautiful.
It's like, wow, what a treat.
Yeah, so you've been a gift to us, allowing us to see your true nature. And you have,
Mm-hmm. Well, I can say being here has helped, even if it's just been a little bit. I know it hasn't been like the instantaneous transformation that we're always talking about, but I've noticed since being here and talking about this stuff, I've been able to let some things go, even if it's just a little bit, and it has helped.
Well, my dear, you're very self-critical.
Very much so.
Yeah. And so when you relax a little bit, you've been having more fun than you've had in a long time. But that doesn't look like instantaneous transformation, because you have an idea of what that's supposed to look like, rather than being able to take a breath and feel okay. Man, a lot of people don't have that. And you've been discovering that lately, that you're feeling a little bit better about yourself. You notice I had to qualify it?
To a little bit?
Yeah, because if I said better, you'd find some reason. Well, but last week I was not feeling so good.
But 3 months ago, or let's go 3 months ago, it's not that long. If somebody would have called you up and said, hey, Errol and Shari are thinking of you. Do you want to be on their podcast? You would have said,
absolutely
what?
Not.
Yep. Nope.
And so when you say a lot hasn't happened, of course it hasn't. Not in your mind. Our minds will never transform.
Because they're a machine, but the being that you are is coming alive.
And what you got, the easy way to see about instantaneous transformation is to look out into your world and also see how people perceive you.
And I would say your relationship with your daughters has improved.
Yes.
And that isn't something you did because we told you to improve it. It's just that as you get more comfortable being you, you're more comfortable with everybody you interact with.
I saw it the other night. Your daughter came in to talk to you while we were in the middle of the Monday. And you didn't get tight at all. You're very smart. You mute your portal so that if she comes in and needs something, it doesn't translate over. But I saw her, you looked at her, I saw you listen to her, and I saw you kiss her on the forehead. And then she got what she needed from you. She felt included, not like she was an interruption. And she went off to do whatever she needed to do. And it was seamless.
Yeah.
I'm caught by something, my sweet. What it says on your t-shirt looks like difficult road.
Yeah, I made the shirt.
What does it say? Difficult road?
Difficult roads often lead to beautiful destinations.
Oh, great.
That's kind of like a cluttered desk is a sign of genius.
You don't need a difficult road. You can get into a beautiful destination at any moment. All you have to do is be here.
I think that was one super useful for you. I'm not sure that you need to celebrate difficult roads anymore. You don't need to have them.
Yeah.
Thanks for being with us today.
Yeah.
And thanks for taking the leap. I have a feeling that your willingness to jump in and have a conversation with us today is going to inspire the listeners who listen all the time. You may inspire people who've never signed into Living Made Easy to just make the leap. But for certain, right here, right now, you've inspired the two of us.
Absolutely.
Thank you for having me here. And like I said, being here, which is the whole name of the thing, but being here, it has helped. So I'm glad that I'm actually here and I've had the chance to meet you guys and be here with you guys.
So thank you for that.
Mm.
We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Hey, it's time for the listener feedback spotlight.
It's where we get to hear from people in this amazing listenership and transformation community talking about what's happening in their lives.
This is Ralph in Cologne, Germany, and what I love about the LME video seminars is that they bring me right back into where I am.
Do you want to have well-being with consistency? Connect with people all over the world from the comfort of your own home at Ariel and Shire's lively interactive Living Made Easy virtual seminars. Join any of their 2-hour online events or take a deep dive into the magic of being you at a virtual weekend seminar. Come on, let's connect. Find out more and register at transformationmadeeasy.com.
If you'd like to meet with us and perhaps meet Jess, you can come to one of the next upcoming
Living Made Easy seminars.
We have one on this Saturday and the following Monday. You can check that out on transformationmadeeasy.com and go ahead and register. Come join us. It only takes $20 and it's 2 hours of magic. If you want a deeper dive in the magic of you.
Yes, we're doing a weekend seminar called Discover the Healer in You. And that is Saturday and Sunday, November 6th and 7th.
Now, I would be willing to bet that Jess didn't realize that for us, being with her is like a healing experience. It's
Yes.
like, I guess most people, when they hear the idea of being a healer, they think they're healing something that's broken. And of course, I guess the assumption is something needs to be healed. But there's some magic in being with people who are really, really here that is like a balm to the soul. So if you'd like to join us again, Saturday and Sunday,
That
November.
was BALM.
Yeah, a balm.
Yes, as opposed to
A balm.
boom.
Boom. Yes. Saturday and Sunday, November 6th and 7th. And if you'd like to join us in Costa Rica for January of 2022, it's open.
It requires that you join us for a weekend seminar first and
that you're fully vaccinated. Again, transformationmadeeasy.com. And go ahead and register.
And
if you'd
Ariel
like to
and
join
I
us.
finish each other's sentences.
We absolutely do. And in that vein, let's call in our next guest.
Katya.
Welcome to being here. And where are you zooming in from?
Hello, Ariel and Shaya. I'm Katja and zooming in from Hamburg, Germany.
Excellent.
Welcome.
Thank you. It's so wonderful to listen to you and to all the participants. And it's really, really, really wonderful. And that reminds me to what I wanted to share is that with your approach, I learned to be okay with me more than ever before, to be okay how I am. Also, there's sometimes still this mind chatter and talking to me that it's this mind chatter, what tells me things where I do not have to follow the thoughts. And And this is really so, I mean, like meeting foreign people or people I haven't met before, and just to be there with them and just being there with, and that's really something I did not experience before. So, and I have the feeling this is lately more intensive. It is, I don't know, it's just an expression or no impression. And I'm questioning myself, what else is possible? So,
Okay. So ready? I
Yes.
have a question for you. Take a deep breath and see if you have an answer. Ready?
yes.
Do you have a question for us? What comes up with that question?
Well, the question which comes up, and this is funny because it's something, it's probably more in my mind. The question is, I want to be better, so better than now. And this is tricky because it is my mind.
Yes, but you see, here's the thing: you're intelligent. See, you're intelligent. You're smart. Your mind is quick.
So you have the question and you have the idea what you think we might answer. So you don't ask the question, you then talk around it because you don't think it's a transformed question. A transformed person wouldn't try to be better. She's laughing. I know you can't.
Yes.
She is laughing.
So look, your mind is a survival machine. It works on surviving. And if you were great, there would be nothing to work on.
Yes.
And Katya, you are brilliant. You are great already. There's nothing you need to do to make you any better. Right. You want to be 3 inches taller?
No.
Would that make you better?
No.
What would make you better?
Oh, give us a good one. Come on. What would make you better?
Yeah, sometimes I find myself like interrupting people, and then I feel like I'm not patient enough.
Okay. So you want to be more patient.
Yes.
But let's look at those three principles again.
Okay, go ahead.
Because I just interrupted Shia, by the way.
Yeah. Do you notice how offended I am?
Oh, it's awful. I'm just so awful. Look, if your idea is actually, I forgot totally what I was going to say, but it's like she draws a conclusion. She sees how she operates and then draws a conclusion.
Well, it's your mind picks on you all the time. Your thought processes are, here's the thing. When you were about 2 years old,
Yes.
you didn't want those big people telling you what to do.
Mm-hmm.
So you told you what to do so they couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
And you've been doing that ever since. That
Yes.
doesn't make you bad or wrong. All it is that you have this noisy mind that thinks you ought to be different than you are.
And all of the successes you've had, this is what we're talking to Jess about, it included that noisy mind. So on some level, you think, oh gosh, I shouldn't have that.
Now, for an occupation, you run a conference center, I believe, where thousands and thousands of people come to conferences.
Yes, this was before, but we are going to keep our fingers crossed that we are going back there.
Okay, because of COVID.
Yes.
Okay, but that required amazing amount of logistical handling of all sorts of situations to have that be effortless and seamless. Yes?
Yes.
And you did that.
Yes.
And you did that so well that I remember you once, many years ago, came to a a business course in New York City, and you were angry with your supervisor because he couldn't find anything wrong with you.
Yes.
So your mind is geared to finding things wrong with you as if then you can make them better.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'll be-
even though there's nothing wrong with you.
Yes.
So let's go back to that time where you were very upset with your boss and you actually threatened to quit because you thought he was being disrespectful, not finding anything that needed improving. How many years ago would you say that is? Just rough.
15.
Okay, so it's probably longer than that, but let's say 15 years ago, your boss's perception of you was you didn't need improvement.
You were great.
Now, I have a question. Have you improved at your abilities in your job, even if you don't have exactly the same job, since that time in the past 15 years?
Yes. And
Don't
there's
To
also
say it.
what? I'm
Don't
sorry.
you hate to say that?
Yeah, it is because I in this moment I think I want to be faster, or there comes my impatientness, or that I think, oh, we should already be there. So like the current situation, and then I say, well, then I'm impatient that we are not there already. So, and then I'm not giving perhaps sometimes others enough space because I want to do it a little bit my way. So, and then, yeah.
Katya, you are so adorable.
Well,
Good word, adorable.
Yes.
It's a good thing. You shouldn't cry about it.
No, I'm curious what you mean with that. Well,
What's the German word for adorable?
Wertvoll, I would say.
Okay.
Wertvoll, like
Okay.
valuable.
Well, you are that.
Mhm. Mhm.
See, here's the thing. Your mind sees things in more, different, and better.
Mhm.
So no matter what you've accomplished, you think you should do more, or you think you should do something different, or you think you should do it better or faster in your case.
Yes. Yeah.
But if you look historically, my dear, you've been very successful in everything you've accomplished, everything you've done, the way you did it.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
the conversation rattles on like you should do it differently or more or better.
Sean and I have been watching a Netflix series recently called The Flash. And
Mhm.
I've been enjoying it. It's a superhero thing. It's been fun. It doesn't really matter the show. However, one of the things about our television is that we often, no matter what we're watching, if it's a movie or a episodic, we can't really catch all of the words. So we have turned on closed captioning, which means that whatever the actors are saying plays at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, you get it in written words.
Mhm.
That's great. So if I miss a word, I can see it. And then I'm like, oh, that's what they said. But one of the funny things that they do often on this particular show is now it says suspenseful music. For the person who can't hear it, it says suspenseful music is playing, or tense music, or lighthearted music.
Or dramatic music.
And what's very funny is when I'm watching the show, I don't think, oh, that's dramatic music playing. And then they write the words dramatic music. That music has been added to the movie later. This drive, this push, this wanting to get ahead is something you've added to the movie called Katya, and your mind thinks without my suspenseful, dramatic music, it wouldn't be a good show.
Yes. Thank you. Yes. 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 And yes.
See, look, my darling, you're living an exquisite life
Yes.
if you tell the truth. It doesn't need to be more or different or better. It's already great.
Yes. And sometimes there comes this thought, why I'm here, where what is my impact? But then I see when I'm just meeting other people, then I'm already making an impact of just sharing myself. So
Yes. See, that's the other thing. You think that life has a purpose, a higher purpose, rather than we just happen to be alive in this moment. And being lucky enough to be human beings, we have cognitive power, we have reason and understanding, and so we can appreciate that we're alive. You know, an oak tree, I don't think it appreciates that it's alive. You know, it just makes leaves, do photosynthesis and feed it and all that other stuff to keep it alive, but it doesn't have a conversation. The trees aren't talking to themselves. We are.
But
Yes.
let's talk again about change versus transformation. In change, you interrupt somebody and you think, oh God, a better me wouldn't do that. I have to get better at that. I have to make progress. In transformation, it's about observing what is without judging what you see. Chances are, Katya, if you're interrupting people, you've just gotten a little bit ahead of yourself. Then it just becomes informational, like, and you can take a breath and you can relax. You're not doing it wrong. The life is this incredible possibility of discovering your center. And sometimes you're leaning forward and sometimes you're leaning back and sometimes you're here, and it's all perfect.
yeah, thank you for giving me this picture. This
Nice.
thank you.
You know what's neat?
No, what's
Before we
that?
go, or before we let her go, her voice just shifted.
Yes.
It was instantaneous transformation.
Yes.
You didn't do anything. You were just listening, and you're here, and your life transforms. And for all the listeners out there, transformation is supportable. We really, if you want to submit a listener spotlight, or you want to come to a seminar, jump in. It's lovely. Again, if you want to be a guest on the show, ask a question. Go to transformationmadeeasy.com/being here and find out how. That's it for today, right?
Yes, my dear. But next week's podcast episode.
It's so perfect. It kind of leads from this one. A better me. It's perfect because, a better me would not be anxious, or a better me would never interrupt, or a better me would fill in your blank. We're going to have some fun with that next week.
So come on back.
And don't miss
Being
here.